Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click a like down below. It would be greatly appreciated if we could keep the likes higher than the dislikes. Only you can make that happen. But over to the point. I had several people, actually some friends, link me the story about Robert Pattinson. I think that's what his last name is. I'm not a fan of the Twilight movies. I'm not particularly a fan of this guy. Some issues with the Batman movie. And you know, a lot of times people get selected for this role and it becomes questionable because Batman is jacked. Anyone who's read the comic books, you know that Batman is jacked. Batman lifts, Batman's strong, he's a jacked dude. Okay, it's part of the character. Not like the Superman to where he's just like that naturally. Batman actually trains. And when Christian Bale was selected for it, he was really questionable because a lot of people looked at the whole thing with the machinist like, man, this guy cut all the way down, starved himself down to an anorexic level. How is he going to bulk up? Well, I would look at that and say, well, that's someone with a lot of discipline. Okay, and someone with a lot of discipline can also train and they can force feed themselves. Just like he was able to starve himself, this is a person who has a lot of discipline for a role. So in spite of the weight issue there with him in the past, I didn't actually really question that one. Because as someone who lifts, someone who my whole life revolves around strength. I'm a strength coach by profession. Run a fitness and strength YouTube channel. That's what I do. I know what discipline looks like when I see it in a lifter. Christian Bale's someone with discipline. I actually didn't really question that one. To be honest, I didn't question that one. I didn't think that one back then was a big deal. It's believable because he's got that sort of discipline and work ethic. And if you're able to do what he did for that other role, it makes sense. Then we come over to Robert. Robert always struck me as soft and squishy. He's soft and squishy and weak. And when I say weak, guys, I don't mean just physically weak. Right? There's not someone with a strong personality. It's not someone with discipline. He's struggling to bulk up. But what's the standard strategy? I've covered this in the past, right? We've covered how Thor, Superman, the new Hellboy, I've covered all this stuff of what training methods they used. And I've said it makes sense. This is what I would have someone do. If someone came to me and was paying me $1,000 a week to get them ready for a movie role, the sort of stuff that they actually have admitted they do is probably what I would have them do too. Would I have you do that? No. Do I have any of my coaching clients do what they do? No, of course not. Of course not. People have lives. It would eat up hours and hours of your time every day. But the general strategy has been what? Low rep barbell training, big compound movements, combined with large amounts of metabolic conditioning or GPP work. And then they force feed them. Okay, that's the strategy they use. So what does that mean? What did we see for Hellboy? What did we see for Hellboy? He did a bunch of 5x5s. Well, I've been famous for making 5x5s popular again. So one of my contributions to the online fitness world. I got thousands and thousands of people doing 5x5s again for base building. Right? I only use that for base building. I don't have my advanced lifters do that. I don't do that, right? Good for base building. We'll usually see them do a bunch of things like sets of fives, which also starting strength utilizes, right? The Ripto guys, they're all about doing your fives. You see a lot of that with big movements, squats, deadlifts. You see a lot of benching, dips, incline bench, chin-ups, pull-ups. That's usually what we see. Surprisingly, you don't always see a lot of overhead pressing. I've had that pointed out. Some people are like, why are they doing all this incline and not overhead? Doesn't he? Well, honestly, for bulking up for a movie role, I could see the incline for a lot of these guys being a better choice. It's a little more technique involved with overhead pressing. Okay, and they're doing tons of Metcon work. I can see why they're doing incline. It makes sense for the Hollywood type physique. Doing a bunch of incline work actually does make sense. Instead of the overhead press, even though, because you can get shoulders doing other stuff. Plus, you got to look at all the Metcon they're doing. That's building their shoulders on top of it. So you see all of this, and that's the norm. They have them do moderate volumes, focus upon heavy, heavy, heavy weight. Heavy relative, meaning fives is heavy for a novice, not heavy for an advanced lifter. Ones are heavy for us. Novice lifter fives are heavy. They have them on a strength-based program. They focus just on strength. Why? Because that builds your base, builds your foundation. Then they throw large amounts of Metcon. That's the other thing people need to remember. Someone who's doing large amounts of Metcon doesn't need training volume for hypertrophy. What have they been having them do? We'll see them doing all these barbell complexes, sled drags, right? Sled drags, prowler pushes, hitting a tire with a hammer. Tons and tons of metabolic conditioning or GPP type work. So it stands for general physical preparedness. What does that do? Well, if you have someone doing a basic strength training program 3 or 4 days a week, pushing them hard, and then they're doing an hour or two, and that's what they're having some of these guys do, an hour plus of Metcon work throughout the day. All right, their energy turnover is going to go through the roof. They are going to maximize hypertrophy off of that. We could argue that all that conditioning work isn't ideal to maximize hypertrophy, but when it's stacked on the end of a strength program, and we're overfeeding people who can literally handle the volumes of it, it will maximize hypertrophy. Now, you also need to keep in mind actors also are not opposed to putting substances in their body. We all know this. We know that a little bit of gear use goes in there. What happens when you throw a bit of gear on somebody? You guys all know what that word means. What happens when you throw a little bit of gear at somebody who's training like that, who has a perfect lifestyle, they're overfeeding, they have some novice gains kicking in because most of these guys weren't really jacked at the start of this, heavy strength-based programming, excessive amounts of Metcon work, which does have a hypertrophic effect if you can recover from it, but it makes them burn enormous amounts of calories. Their energy turnover and work capacity goes through the roof. They're allowed to sleep as much as they need to. Perfect diet. You can overfeed them a large amounts of whole, clean foods, and then they throw a little bit of stuff at them. They're going to get jacked real fast. They're going to get jacked faster than you would be able to do it on a normal programming with a job and a life. Right? That's what's going to happen. They're going to get jacked pretty quick, in a hurry. Specifically because they're putting a little extra focus up on some of the show muscles, the upper back, shoulder girdle, upper chest, some of that stuff. All of this through here tends to get a little bit heavier of a focus on that when they're doing this training. They get jacked real quick. So then you take guys like Robert, and they're saying, well, he's a hard gainer. I saw that in the article. I'm sorry, and you guys know how I feel about the term hard gainer. I coach people who have eating issues. I've got clients, 2 clients who are former anorexics. I have clients who have high energy turnovers. The hard gainer, there is no such thing. It's not due to metabolism. That's been studied. That is a myth. Humans don't have different metabolisms. And if you do, you have a major medical problem. In other words, if your resting metabolic rate is 20% too high, and keep in mind, guys, 20% too high, you're talking about 500 calories, right? That's like 2 spoonsful of peanut butter. Okay, that's the difference. If you're 500 calories difference on your resting metabolic rate from where you should be, you need to be in a doctor's office, right? They can give you, you have a medical issue that needs treatment. You're sick. So I don't ever buy this hard gainer nonsense. What's a hard gainer? It's an undereater. It's someone who can't eat. No appetite. Well, I think that's what we're seeing here. And again, let's come back over Hollywood. Because, you know, actors and people in Hollywood are not prone to put anything in their body that might suppress appetite. Can you guys think of anything? I can. Right? It's not a hard gainer. It's lack of work ethic, inability to eat. Yeah, I have guys who have to do that. Yes, I have skinny, underweight clients who have to stuff food down like that. They have to. They've got to drink the whole milk every day, just like I do. Right? I drink a gallon of whole milk every single day. I burn over 4,000 calories a day. I'm not skinny though, but I burn over 4,000 a day. I have clients who burn 3,500, 4,000 plus. I have some skinny guys in that range because they're that active. You have to force food down them. He is a person who is unwilling to eat. Okay, it's just lack of work ethic. It's lack of work ethic in general. Inability to put in the training time and the food that he knows he needs to make an extra several $1 million. That's what I mean when I assessed his personality early on, and I look at this guy and he doesn't strike me as a strong person in terms of discipline, right? Work ethic. That's what you have to do. If you have a high work ethic, when you're put in a perfect environment like this, you can train and eat the food, okay? Train and eat the food. But they force feed these guys. I've seen a lot of these actors where they put them on 4,000 plus calories because of the amount of conditioning they're doing. But the end result is that they get jacked real quick. But keep in mind, they're not having them come in and just weightlift for a little bit. They're doing all that Metcon on top of it. That makes a big, big difference. But in his case, he just can't eat. He's not willing to eat. And that's the silly part, is that's just pure laziness. Because people say, what do you mean? I can't eat. No, you can all eat enough. We have to pick appropriate food. Usually the whole milk works. Most guys put a gallon of whole milk down every day. You say, well, I can't do that in addition to all my water. You replace your water. Okay, you don't drink all the other stuff. Gallon of whole milk. That still can't get you there. The next solution, which has never, ever, ever failed to put weight on anybody I've ever heard of in my life, you add peanut butter to it. The whole milk won't do it. Add peanut butter. It's easy to get an extra 2,000 calories in every day eating peanut butter. You can get real fat just eating out of that jar of peanut butter. Now, people say, well, he's not trying to get fat. No, he's trying to gain muscle. Idea is the same. You still need the elevated energy turnover, but these are all healthy, clean foods. They're going to improve your performance, improve your recovery. It's not junk food. That's the difference. The junk food can cause recovery issues, right? It can cause energy issues. Quality foods like this, like milk, peanut butter, steak, it's not going to inhibit your performance. It's going to help your recovery so that you can train harder. Because that's the idea. What they're trying to do with these guys is to get their energy turnover way up. We get more food in, quality food in, get a larger anabolic response. And it also enhances recovery so they can keep training that hard and stimulate maximum growth. And that usually, when done correctly, they end up not really gaining any body fat. That's the real trick to it. It has to do with the total energy turnover and workloads. And in this case, he's just a lazy person. It's that simple. And people can get upset at me saying that. I'm a coach. I see this. I know this. I can assess his personality easily and his inability to eat. He's just lazy. It is purely that simple. All right, guys. Well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.